Hello. So I have, if you can see, my clown is completely visible, which means that I do have an unhaul for you today. And so as usual, anything that is children's or middle grade, go to my classroom. Anything that is inappropriate and graphic in like a graphic novel kind of way will end up getting sold on eBay at some point. And everything else goes to my mother's classroom, which is a high school English classroom, which used to be mine, that's where I used to put all my stuff. But I got a good chunk of books here. These first three are these, I've been getting pickier, even pickier. And now I've decided that the Dark Tower books that I want are the big hardcovers. I have Wolves of the Kala in a nice big hardcover, and that's what I want for all of them. And so I decided that I wanted to get what I had previously thought was like, well, either the tall paperbacks or the big hardcovers. But then I realized that I just want the big hardcovers. So I have tall paperbacks of The Gunslinger, The Drawing of the Three, and The Wastelands. And obviously this is not collecting these big hardcovers, especially when I'm on a pretty much book buying ban, sort of. The bet is it's a complicated thing. Is complex to say the least, but it's really just going to be like, if I end up getting around to it, I'll get around to it kind of thing. But I'm getting rid of these used to be my editions. I'm fairly certain I have like 3 books that are exactly the same edition as this one in the book wall, so that'll be fun. But I'm getting rid of these. I'm also going to be getting rid of Midnight for Charlie Bone by Jenny Nimmo. This was a childhood favorite series. This was one of those series. This and Septimus Heap were the 2 series that I would read like in between Harry Potter books coming out. And I just don't really need it around, I don't think. So I'm getting rid of it. Speaking of childhood series, I am getting rid of the first 2 mostly ghostly books. I really enjoy the first book even as an adult, but I don't know that R.L. Stine is really all that capable of writing a continuous series. I think that he's much better on one-offs, like with the Goosebumps stuff. So I figure I'm gonna get rid of these. I don't really need them around, even if the first book is still super fun. And the movie did feature one of my earliest childhood crushes, Luke Benward. I loved him. I aged myself with that one. And I've got The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes, which was okay. As far as musician books go, like books about musicians, I haven't read one that was about, like a 2000s girl group before, but I think the fact that it was about a genre of music that I'm not really all that into did make me like it a little bit less. I don't really care all that much. But it was interesting. It was fun. I enjoyed reading it, but it's not something I really need to keep around. I'm also getting rid of a book I won from Goodreads actually not that long ago. Awesome. Everybody's Favorite by Lillian Stone, which is an ARC. This came out in July of this year, 2023. This is a memoir. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time, but with a lot of ARCs, I don't really ever see myself rereading them. I don't really see myself needing to show them off, especially when I'm starting to edge so much more towards hardcovers with a lot of things. I don't really need an ARC around unless it's something really special. And this really wasn't that. I'm also going to be getting rid of the second book in the I Hunt Killer series, Game. I actually enjoyed this one more than I thought I would, especially based on like the first 40 pages. I was like, oh dear God, this is so juvenile and terrible. But it got really fun by the end. I liked the gimmick. I thought the gimmick was super fun. I do intend to continue on with the series, but I did get rid of the first book both times I read it, so I'm not going to keep the second book around. Then I've got this little novelization of The Karate Kid, which I kept around, I think, just because I thought it was so funny and so fun to have. I love The Karate Kid. I think it's a great movie. But I finally accepted that it is time to let go of my novelization of The Karate Kid. Next, I've got the Hack Slash Omnibus one, which I have actually been meaning to get rid of for so long, but for some reason, every single time I go through my shelves looking to get rid of books, my gaze just like passes over it. But yeah, I don't need this. It was a fun read. I liked it. I liked all the horror references and stuff like that, but I don't need to keep it around. It's not something I'm ever gonna reread. It's not something I'm gonna collect more of. I don't need it. And then also on the same lines, you could really tell that I recently went through my shelf one, which has like, I believe, Stephen Adler down to our first half of Aaron Hunter, because all of these authors' names, unless they were something that I read very recently, start with A through H. So there's that. But I'm also getting rid of The Smoke Thieves by Sally Green. I love this book. I love this series. I read the first 2 books. I think they're fantastic. I think they're super fun. Here's the thing. I'm getting rid of like this series as I've been reading it. Like book 2, I gave straight to the school where my mom works. And I don't really feel the need of keeping book 1 around if I know that I'm not going to be keeping book 3 around when I read it eventually, and when I know I didn't keep book 2 around. So that's the thing with having 4 bookshelves, is like I gotta save space where I can. And so that means that what I end up keeping are manga and horror books that I really, really enjoy, or stuff like that. Like when it comes to young adult, unless it's something that is like my entire heart and soul, or something that the school already has, I generally don't keep it around because I know that somebody else will need it more than I will, or sitting in my shelf. And so that's why I'm getting rid of this. I'm also getting rid of the Frontlines trilogy by Michael Grant, which is a great series. I really like it. The first book is Frontlines. The second book is Purple Hearts, and the third book is Silver Stars. This is a World War II alternate history where girls were drafted alongside boys. I think they're really well done. I think they're really well written. They're really, really good. I really like Michael Grant as an author, but they take up so much goddamn space. They're hardcover, they're thick, they're huge, and Michael Grant already takes up so much goddamn space with the Gone series, which I'm never parting with. So a lesser series that I have only read once, I really don't need to keep around. So there's that. And then I've got The Dash by Linda Ellis and Mac Anderson. I feel a little bit bad getting rid of this one because it's something that was given to me by a relative when I graduated high school. But I did read it. I kept it on my shelf much longer than I would have otherwise because it's not my thing. So, and finally, I'm getting rid of the Kurt Cobain journals, which I bought my freshman year of high school in my deep Nirvana phase. And I think Cece, my little sister, will get a really big kick out of this. But yeah, I don't need it around. I don't need this anymore. My Nirvana phase is gone. The one book I'm keeping from my Nirvana phase is Charles R. Cross's Heavier Than Heaven, and that's just because a roommate and I like had a book club with it. Like we would like assign chapters of it, and we'd like write notes in the margins, and then I think it was like once a week, I think it was like every Wednesday, we'd like sit down and discuss the Kurt Cobain biography by Charles R. Cross. So I kept that. I have that yet on my shelves. It is sitting right in between We All Fall Down by Robert Cormier and Columbine by Dave Cohen, completely annotated by 2 college freshmen. So I'm keeping that, but I don't need to keep this. This was very useful during those college days though too, because we did once. This is a funny story. So when I was a freshman in college, I lived in a suite, so there were 4 of us. And the roommate that I read the Charles R. Cross biography with was not the roommate that I shared a room with. The roommate that I shared a room with I believe it was after Easter or something. But the roommate that I had the book club with, she was from out of state, and so she didn't go home for Easter because it just didn't work with money and trying to get there and back. And I lived the closest out of the other 3 of us. I lived like half an hour away, so we were back first. And so what we did was we took all of my Nirvana shirts, of which I had many at that point, all of the CDs, all the books, and the crown jewel, which she didn't know we had at that point, the Kurt Cobain journals, and we made a Kurt Cobain shrine on her bed. That's what you do when you're a freshman in college, is you get deep into a Nirvana phase, and then you make a Kurt Cobain shrine on your roommate's bed when they come back from Easter. And it was so funny. It was great. But that time in my life is over, so we're getting rid of this. But yeah, that's that. So that leaves me with, I think, 3 for my classroom, a bunch for my mom's, and 1 for eBay. Because even if I just don't think we should maybe put, maybe not, I don't know. I'm very much personal to let people read what they want. But for graphic novels in a school, you got to be a little bit pickier, because it's you don't need the brain power to see the image. Anyway, that is that. There will probably be another one of these at some point. I mean, I know there will be, obviously, as I'm reading down the book wall. I'm not going to keep every single book, and when I go through and I dust my shelves, I mean, I kind of weed them as I do that too. Because I dusted shelf 1. That's why so many books from shelf 1 were on here. Is because I dusted it, and so I weeded it out. And there's some books too, while I'm dusting is like, I'm really like, well, maybe next time I just put them back. And there were some books like that on shelf 1. Like, I'm still really, really conflicted on keeping my Danganronpa manga. I might just keep some. I might get rid of the first series of manga at some point because it's just bad. And maybe the Komaeda stuff, and maybe I'll just keep the Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair mangas, those 3, because they're the best ones. And I, as much as my high school heart loved Kiyotaka Ishimaru, the best characters are in game 2. But that's just me thinking out loud. That is where we're at right now. There will be another unhaul sometime. There will be another book haul soon, because I am near and filling up the bottom level again, as well as another TBR, because I'm almost out of books on my TBR card. But yeah, that is everything for today. That's all for today. I'll talk to you later, and goodbye.